Let me tell you the real reason you fail your resolutions every year, brother. It's not because you're weak. It's not because you're lazy. It's because you've been living from an identity that can't carry the weight of the man that you want to become. And until you confront that identity, January will always win. Welcome to The Sacred Gentleman, a formation podcast for men who want to walk with God, lead with purpose, and build a legacy that outlives them. This is part one of a 4-part New Year's formation series called Why Men Fail Their Resolutions and How to Break That Cycle for Good. If you haven't yet, tap follow or subscribe so the next episodes meet you right when you need them. Let's begin. Most men, they think they fail resolutions because they lack discipline. But the truth is actually a lot deeper than that. Men fail because their identity is misaligned with the man that they're trying to become. Today, I'm going to take you into one of the moments that I'm least proud of. A moment where my identity was fully exposed. So you can see why your resolutions die long before January ever arrives. Here's what we're doing in this episode. I'm going to take you to the exact moment my resolutions kept dying. We'll expose the identity trap that keeps men from repeating the same year on loop. It's a trap! You'll see why systems, motivation, and discipline never carry you through, and will lay the foundation for what it means to become a sacred gentleman. Let's get into it now. Years before my younger kids were even born, when I still had a few of the older kids in high school, I was flying constantly as a corporate director. On this particular night, I sat at a hotel bar. The lights were dim, there was a soft noise, and a room full of men who were avoiding themselves. I was on bourbon number 3, maybe 4, and I was staring into the glass with tired eyes. And I avoided my own reflection in the back of the bar mirror. And I pulled out my phone, and I saw the time, and my stomach had dropped. I had forgotten to call home yet again. My daughters were already asleep for school the next day. My wife, she hadn't heard my voice all day long. And in that moment, I realized something even worse. I hadn't even thought about them. And I exhaled, and under my breath, I whispered, "You flippin' idiot." It wasn't loud, but it was honest. And I quickly grabbed my phone and I texted an apology to my wife. And it was one of many throughout the years. And I told myself I'd make it up somehow. Like when I get home, I would just do a grand gesture. But when I got home, everything seemed fine. And that made it worse because I slipped right back into the same old patterns. I grabbed the remote, I dropped into my lazy boy, I opened a bag of Cheetos, I turned on the TV, and I sat there in silence just watching. But I wasn't at peace, I was just avoiding. And I remember thinking, I know my wife's upset. Why doesn't she just say something to me? Then like a whisper that rose from somewhere deeper, I realized, because this is what they expect from me now. This is who I am. And that hit me like a blow to the chest. That right there was my identity. The man who was drifting, the man who was absent, a man reacting to life instead of leading it. My resolutions didn't die in January. They died right there in the quiet places where identity hides. Here's the foundational truth. You cannot build a new life on your old identity because identity shapes your thoughts. Thoughts, they shape your behavior. Your behavior shapes your patterns, and your patterns, well, they shape your outcomes. So if you start the new year with last year's identity, you're going to replay last year's outcomes. That's why discipline fades. That's why motivation cracks. That's why I'm going to step up this year becomes I'll try again next year. Scripture says, as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. Proverbs 23 verse 7. Not as he wants, not as he resolves, as he thinks in his heart. And that's where your identity lives. And this is why the first pillar of my sacred code is sanctify the man. To sanctify means to separate the false identity from the true one, to purify the internal world, to reclaim the man beneath the noise. Before you attempt discipline, before you set a goal, before you step into the new year, you must confront the question, who is the man I have been living as? And is he capable of carrying my future? And until that answer aligns, your outcomes will never align. Now, let me tighten this loop for you a bit. There is a truth about discipline no one taught you, a truth that explains why your drive always dies and why trying harder will never get you to where you want to go. That's in episode 2. And once you hear it, you'll never look at discipline the same way again. But before that, most men think the solution after identity is either accountability or brotherhood. And those matter. But even brotherhood is incomplete without alignment. There's a ceiling that every man hits. And in episode 3, I'll show you exactly where that ceiling is and why every men's group you've joined eventually stops working. Before bed tonight, I want you to sit quietly and write down one sentence. Who have I been living as? And is that man capable of becoming who God is calling me to be? Identity must be sanctified before it can be strengthened, gentlemen. I turned to discipline. The company that I worked for hired Jocko Willing to come in and work with us. He taught us about extreme ownership, about discipline equaling freedom. And for a season, it changed everything. But even discipline has a hidden limit, a limit that no one talks about, a limit that every man hits. And when I hit it, everything in my formation changed. We'll get into that in episode 2 with the hidden limits of just working hard. If this episode is stirring something up in you, if you feel the need for guidance, structure, or brotherhood, there's 3 paths that you can walk. The first one is coaching with me, deep, personal, masculine formation. The second uses the same curriculum, and it's the self-paced sacred code course. You can move steadily at your own pace while you're building your foundation. And the third way is the sacred brotherhood that'll be launching in January. And what I'm working on is building a community of men who sharpen each other exactly at the right angle. You don't need to choose now. Just know this, you're not alone. And your formation, it matters to God, your family, and your legacy. Your presence is your leadership. Your home follows the temperature of your soul. Identity is the soil where every resolution either takes root or dies. May God sanctify that man within you. May he reveal who you are created to be. And may this be the year you rise as the sacred gentleman your family already believes you can become. I'll see you in part 2.